Johnny Somali is going to prison. He's finally behind bars.
I know for a fact I'm not gonna go to jail. Not
Wrong.
one day in jail. I'm gonna laugh my off when all these motherfuckers see I'm going to 30 years, 20 years.
Couldn't have happened to a worse person.
5 years, 10 years, bro. I'm telling you, I'm not even gonna do one day, bro. They're gonna give me a fine. They're gonna say, "Don't come back to Korea." You're the one who's gonna look so dumb when I don't get any jail time or anything. Bro, I'm gonna laugh like a villain.
Idiot spouting idiot things.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, has been sentenced to 6 months and 20 days in prison with labor in Seoul, South Korea
Praise the Lord!
today. We're going to get that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be around judge. I'm Andrew Esquire.
Should be much more than 6 months in my opinion. It should be much, much longer than 6 months in my opinion, but that's just me. These nuisance streamers need to realize that they can't get away with doing that. So hopefully they make it longer. Hopefully they find a way to keep him there a little longer.
American attorney who's been tracking this from beginning to end, and today we're going to break out
Thank you,
the
Andrew.
exact reasons for the guilty plea, his imprisonment, his sentence, and what happens next. So let's get into what happened today in Seoul, South Korea.
Let's get into it.
So first of all, to just get to my opening statements, Ramzi Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali, was found guilty on all 8 charges. So there were 4 counts of business obstruction, 2 counts of the Minor Crimes Act, and 2 counts of the deepfake distribution. Guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison with labor, an additional 20 days of detention, and 5 years of offender status, with his phones being permanently confiscated. But how did we get there? Well, we got there through a team effort. I started this in front of the same courtroom, and the photo here today is a photo, and once again, in front of that same courtroom today. But it was a team effort. My team, the Somali conviction team, worked very hard submitting evidence, submitting facts, and really getting into it with this process.
I reacted to some of his previous videos. I don't think I reacted to every one of his previous videos about Ramzi Khalid Ismail, but I reacted to several of them. He went over in a previous video what the team had submitted to the Korean courts. So if you're interested in checking that out, go to his channel, or if you want to hear my reaction to it, go find my reaction on my channel.
Where we wanted to have jail time instead of the normal process where foreigners are often just given a fine and let go, which we thought could be a very, very real possibility if there was not more attention on this. And you can see we had Korean media which interviewed us, and many people from the team were there. You've got Professor Ulrich Nod, you've got Kangmin Lee, who's showed up off of X.
I see Atozi.
You've got Atozi. You've got myself,
Gabe,
you just mentioned another individual who showed up who saw the coverage. You've got Atozi's editor. Everybody worked together. This was a huge team effort.
Andrew, you are a tall man. Look at that. You are almost taller than that door frame. What's going on? How tall are you, Andrew? I know your like stream intro is long, long man. I know you are aware of your height. But man, you tall. As a tall guy myself, I feel you, brother.
There are a lot of people that aren't even pictured in this that work together to get this done. And because of the coverage of this, and also the coverage in Korean media, as you see here, that actually led to a different result than normal. But let's get into the trial facts itself. So how did the trial start? Well, the trial started packed with observers. Now, the first time I came, there was hardly anybody in that courtroom about a year and a half ago. However, today, standing room only. People were standing, sitting on the floor, all there for Somali. They had to put up actually the red tape. They had to line people up.
It's a shame that so many people obviously see what he has gotten away with as an injustice, and yet they only gave him 6 months. Even 6 months with hard labor. I feel like it should be more. It's obvious that he has really represented degeneracy and nuisance for not just Korea, but like worldwide.
Very, very much more chaotic than normal. Now, strict security was enforced. There was no phones or recording, as well as no reactions or expression. At one point, when someone smiled during the courtroom, the bailiff actually corrected them to, hey, no expressions, no, keep it serious, keep it somber.
Wow, that's a little wild. I would not have expected you're not even allowed to smile in the courtroom. That's interesting. Is that common in Korean courts? Is that common in U.S. courts? I haven't really been in court before. So, anyways, I'm curious if that's a common rule.
And the judge did remain the same throughout the trial. Now, the prosecutor did change in the spring from the older male prosecutor that was there before to a new female prosecutor, which was there today in this case. Now, what happened? Well, first, there was the guilty portion, because first they had to assess the guilt, because Ramsey had pled guilt on 6 of the charges, the business obstruction and the Minor Crimes Act, but still reasserted his non-guilty plea regarding the deepfakes. So the judge found Somali guilty on the deepfakes, as we predicted he would, because a reasonable person of the age and gender of the victims would experience shame at the deepfakes. The judge then went on to say, okay, you're guilty.
That makes
now
sense,
let's
I
talk about
suppose.
sentencing. And he said, in his opinion, there were both mitigating and aggravating factors for the sentencing of Somali. So
I'm curious. Yeah, I guess he's going to get into them. I wouldn't have expected there to be any mitigating factors.
mitigating factors that he explained in this case were for that victims Jungmann and Hank Yu did not want Somali to be
I guess that's
punished.
fair.
And there has been a settlement with Jungmann that they tried to get the charges dropped. So they weren't dropped, but the judge did say he did factor that in for mitigation. They also said that victim Bong Bong did not experience severe shame or embarrassment.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, though. I don't know. It doesn't seem. I wouldn't have given him leniency on these things.
And had she experienced more severe embarrassment, perhaps there would be a more harsh punishment. They also said, and this is very interesting, that the travel ban and the inability to return home were technical disadvantages for Somali. That was very curious to me, because if he had been allowed to leave and go home, he clearly would have not come back.
Yeah, absolutely. He never would have come
gone
back.
to jail. He would have just not come back to Korea.
Yeah. Quick video interruption. I've been putting out at least one video a day. If I brought you any enjoyment, I would appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I do read all of them. Thanks. Back to the video.
However, he did bring up aggravating factors. The aggravating factors he brought up were that Somali repeatedly committed crimes primarily for YouTube revenue and broadcasted these with no regard for the victim. He also said that
Yes, he
Somali
did.
showed clear disregard for Korean law.
Yes,
this is
he did.
something he understood from the files that we, myself and the Somali conviction team, submitted to them, showing that he didn't care about Korean law, he disrespected the judge, the prosecutor, and really
Nice work, Andrew et al., and in submitting those.
the Korean system at large. He said that the Korean system is an absolute joke, and because of that, he wanted to show how much of a joke it was.
He didn't just say it was a joke. He was talking. He made threats against the judge and the judge's family, and he was crashing out hard. But that's kind of his content. He gets people to watch him crash out and cause trouble. I don't know why anybody enjoys that, but I'm enjoying the fact that he's being put away.
Shout out the president, you. F the judge. F the prosecutor. Y'all can suck my dick, bitch ass bitches. Yeah. Suck my dick on soft.
Now, he also did bring up the risk.
He's not a smart individual. He's what Asmongold would call a 2%er.
Of repeat copycat crimes, and saying that because Johnny Somali is a type of streamer which can be copied and repeated, this is a risk, and they need to set a precedent to deter other streamers from coming in. Now, whether or not 6 months will actually deter people is up for debate. A lot of people, even myself included, think it's not severe enough to deter everybody, but perhaps it can be some sort of deterrent. But he did factor that in as an aggravating factor. So when he handed down the sentence, he explained very clearly it was 6 months in prison with labor. That will be in a specialized prison for labor, also in a prison for offenders, because he had 5 years of offender status. So he can be nowhere near women or children, and he also has to be away from certain types of locations as well.
It's my understanding that sex offender status carries over to the U.S. as well. So he will have that 5 years of sex offender status when he comes back to the States after his 6 months in prison. Or that's assuming he comes back to the States. He might try and go to some other country next. He was in Japan before, causing trouble there. Wouldn't surprise me if he just moves along to another country and tries again.
well. So he can't do all sorts of labor, but he will be laboring in prison. He also will have an additional 20 days of detention, and his phones are permanently confiscated. He will never get back that Galaxy or iPhone ever again. The judge also explained that there are several questions about flight risk and whether he would be immediately detained. They gave him the option to remain silent, but instead Johnny Somali decided to speak. And
oh God. He should have remained silent. I can guarantee every time he opens his mouth, it just gets worse for him. Let's hear it.
Decided to lie even more.
Oh, good.
So when Somali spoke, the judge asked him if he was still a student. Somali lied. He said, yes, Arizona State University. We all know this is untrue.
How is he so dumb? How has he gotten to the point in life where he is an adult and has not killed himself by choking on chlorine or something? Like, he's so dumb.
Hasn't been a student for quite a long time. The judge asked if there's any other reason why he should not be immediately detained. Somali said, I have family in my home country that I miss deeply, and I know I have to pay for my crimes, but I'd be grateful if you gave me a second chance because I think I can do better. Well, the judge kind of ignored this plea because it didn't actually answer the question of why he shouldn't be immediately detained. Of course, they're not going to let him go home. That's ridiculous. Right. He's already been sentenced.
Yeah, why shouldn't you be detained? Because I want to leave. I want to leave the country. I want to flee the country so I don't face consequences. Well, then obviously no, we're not going to let you go without being detained. He said basically the exact opposite of everything that would have been smart to say in that moment. Oh my God.
The prosecutor stated, in fact, that he does pose a severe flight risk and should be detained immediately. Now, he was given another chance to speak to kind of respond to the prosecutor. Somali again lied and said, throughout the court proceedings from 2025 to now, I have refrained from doing anything to harass the public, so I feel this has taught me a vital lesson. Of course, we know that's not true.
That's not
we have
true.
The sexual harassment charges that were filed based on his activity during that period, and those are filed in the Eastern District. We also had several instances where he was harassing people in public, where he was insulting people, getting drunk. So we know that's not true. But the judge said, okay, really, that none of that is relevant. We're going to find a significant flight risk and detain him immediately. So the judge then explained that there's 7 days for both Somali or the prosecution to appeal. This is very important because the prosecution can find that this was too light. They recommended 3 years and he only got 6 months.
Good. Appeal. Make it worse for him.
So the prosecution...
I really don't like this Johnny Somali guy. I don't know why I'm so invested. He doesn't really affect me in my life, but man, is he a nuisance, and I do not want him continuing his antics.
Prosecution has a chance to go to the court and say, no, we need more time. We think this is not fair. Somali can also try to appeal this, but the thing is for Somali, where appeals really aren't going to work in his favor, is the average appeal takes about 6 months. So if Somali is angry about this, he has to appeal from jail. So while he'll be in jail, he'll be serving that time. By the time he would appeal it for saying it's too severe, well, his term will probably be up. He'll probably be at the end of his sentence where he's already served that prison labor. Now, the bailiff did escort Somali out after that, after they explained the chance for appeal, the 7 days for appeal. His possessions were taken. Somali seemed to be prepared to go to jail as he brought a full backpack with all of his things, and he was handcuffed immediately and taken to a side room where
get wrecked, loser.
He'll be bussed over to the detention center, and they'll eventually decide which prison to send him to. After Somali left the room and we saw him be, taken off and handcuffed, all the observers left. Now, Korean media was waiting outside, and myself, others, Atozi, we were interviewed about how we felt about it, and we gave our true opinion, which is we are happy that he was proven wrong, but we think that he deserved more time there.
Yeah, I think that's how most people feel about it. 6 months is kind of a joke for all the chaos that he's caused.
They also asked us if we were talking as YouTubers or Americans or whatever, and I answered that we're talking as people interested in the truth, and we're interested in revealing the Korean court process and getting the truth out there, both to Korea, Americans, everybody, and making sure he serves the time that he should serve and he's punished appropriately. So here's my judgment.
All right, let's hear it.
Somali was proven wrong when he said, I promise you I won't spend 1 day in jail.
Somali's been proven wrong about every word that's ever come out of his mouth. The guy is just an idiot. They say that a broken clock is right twice a day. I don't think Somali's even that. Somehow he finds a way to not even be right twice a day.
I know for a fact I'm not gonna go to jail. Not one day in jail.
I'm gonna show you guys how far I can push the boundaries, and I'm gonna show you that the Korean government is not gonna do anything to me. The Korean legal system is not as strong as people think and perceive it to be.
It may not be as strong if he's only getting 6 months, but I think I don't know how he's gotten such a light sentencing with all of his blatant disregard for their authority. I hope the appeal does go through.
Makes me very, very happy that Somali was once again proven wrong on that. However, objectively, 6 months and 20 days is a light sentence.
It
At
is,
least 2
yes.
years would have been appropriate, particularly given the prosecution's recommendation of 3 years. That would have been a compromise where they didn't get the full 3 years, but they also didn't get a small amount. 6 months is too light. And because of that, we strongly encourage the prosecution to appeal, and we will be, along with the Somali conviction team, myself, encouraging the prosecutors to appeal. We also have the CHS, child sexual harassment charges, that are still floating out there in the Eastern District. We're going to be encouraging that district to bring those charges, because those charges can be brought while Somali is in jail, and that could result in him being in Korea for an even longer time.
Good. Keep him there. We don't want him back.
But I want to know what you guys think about this final judgment about 6 months, 20 days in jail, and the 5 years of offender status. Do you think that's long enough? Do you think he needs more? And what do you think about the entire process?
He definitely needs more than 6 months. 6 months is kind of a joke. It's far too small. The 5 years of the sexual offender status, I think that's probably fair. But the rest of it needs to be longer. Put him to work. Get some use out of him. You know what? Teach him a trade while he's there so he comes out and can actually be a productive member of society or something. Because, man, I'm done with Somali. All right. Take it easy. Oh no, you've ended up in my den. You must think that this is the end. But you have no need to fret. There's still more to come yet. Click on subscribe to let YouTube know just how far this channel should go. More will come later, or if you so need, click on another video to see more of me in your feed.